Hey, good morning, Eastern Oregon, on this Thursday, August 19th, to this AM on EOAlive. We're glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're here. Kyle's not with me today. Dodsy's not with me today. He had a COVID exposure, and so he's been hibernating for the last several days. And I was ill earlier in the day, and so it's one of the reasons, earlier in the week. So it was one of the reasons we didn't have a show earlier. But felt like I needed to get on here, at least if it was by myself this morning, and kind of update you about some things, kind of get your input. I'd love to have you jump into the show. And you can do that by going to your browser and type in EOA.news, and it will you'll actually be able to come right in, come into the show, or you can leave your camera off and talk to me. I'd love to see your face, but if you don't want to do that, then you don't have to. But it would make the conversation a whole lot more exciting than just me. I love having Dodsy with me when we do this because there's just lots of back and forth. So, and then also you can comment. Let me know you're out there. Let me know that I'm not just talking to an image of myself. That kind of helps. We've had just a really busy couple of weeks and we're still recovering. Not only, you should see the studio equipment's just everywhere still haven't got things put away and stuff from the Shrine game, which was a couple of weeks ago now. And so we're still kind of recovering with that. And then I don't know if you watched, but last night we had we hosted a virtual town hall from Grand Ronde Hospital talking about the COVID updates. And that was a good thing. And anyhow, so it's just been lots of moving pieces. So again, give me a comment. Let me make sure that everything's working. You're hearing me okay. Let me know where you're from this morning. And keep in mind that the comments are about 45 seconds behind from the time that I say something to the time that you see it on Facebook to the time that you put it back, get it back into the stream. It takes about 45 seconds. Thank you, Janet, for that affirmation again. And thanks for letting me know that everything's working okay. Again, you can get into the broadcast at EOA.news by typing that. Literally open a browser and type EOA.news in your browser, and that will get you into the broadcast. If you come in, you can send me a private chat. Let me know what you want to talk about. If I don't recognize you, that kind of helps me, since I'm doing this alone, kind of helps me figure out who you are and what it is that you're wanting to talk about. Also, I kind of want to share with you here in a few minutes some of the core values that we've hammered out. And there might be times when you all are wondering who we are and what we're doing. And have we thought it through? And part of the answer is yes, and part of the answer is no. We're kind of riding the wave of what it is that's going on. But at the same hand, we do have some guiding principles that I'm calling it, and I'm going to share those with you. But let's take a look at the weather cam real quick, and you can kind of see it's a little hazy out there, but man, how beautiful is it? I mean, we got just really beautiful, cool weather. I love that. Let me share with you Gabe's forecast. So today the high is around 3 o'clock, is going to be in the lower 80s. And then it'll be cool again this evening. And so that's nice. And then tomorrow will be mostly clear today. Then tomorrow, very similar weather, possible sprinkles towards the end of the day. So thanks, Gabe, for doing that. And thanks for Nate Conklin. If you do not follow our weather, every morning about this time, Gabe takes that same weather graphic and does a little audio file. And it's about 30 seconds, and it shows up on our Facebook page. And so you can kind of get a summarization of the weather just from looking at that. And then also Megan Demersion gives an evening news roundup, and that goes on Facebook about 5:30 every day. Kind of gives a summarization of today's events and then also what's coming up tomorrow along with tomorrow's weather. So we've really been we've been consistently doing these things for, I don't know, probably 3 months now. And we're just trying to build something that will serve you as the public on a daily basis. So I want to just play a brief commercial, take a little bit of a break, and then I'll be back in just a minute and talk to you about some of our core values.
EOAlive is your connection to Eastern Oregon. Get the latest and most relevant news in 2 minutes or less with Megan Demersion on our evening news broadcast. We cover Eastern Oregon's weather daily with Gabe, the EOAlive Weather Kid, with an extended forecast every Friday. Watch Dodzy on EOAlive Sports to get the latest sports information and interviews with local coaches, athletes, and more. See Brent and Dodzy goof and gaff with local guests on EOAlive's morning talk show, AM on EOAlive. We're available across the board, including Facebook, YouTube, Amazon Fire, and of course, our very own website, EOAlive.tv. We even have our own Roku channel and 24/7 live streaming via Stream. You can also listen to our shows on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and many other popular podcast apps. You can get everything all in one place with the EOAlive app, available on Android, iOS, and the Amazon App Store. EOAlive, your connection to Eastern Oregon.
All right. Hey, thanks. Welcome back. Glad that you're with me on this AM on EOAlive this morning, your connection to Eastern Oregon. Kyle is not with me here today, but I'm glad to be here with you. And I would just again encourage you to jump in. You can jump into the broadcast by going to EOA.news, typing that in your browser, and you can be a part of the conversation. Or also you can type in the Facebook comments and be a part of the conversation. Let me know you're here. Love to hear from you. It's kind of funny. One of the things I never really suspected that there would be, I don't know why I didn't, but there would be people that were unhappy with us, unhappy with our coverage from time to time. And so that has kind of led to me, we've kind of hammered out over a period of time some guiding principles. But what I'm wanting to, the point is that this is an opportunity. This is your opportunity this morning to confront me directly about whatever it is that's out there that we do that you want to talk about. And so if you think that we're unbalanced in some way or another, it's kind of funny. I did an interview a couple of weeks ago with Matt Scarfo and Cody Bowen, and the topic, that was to cover the current climate. And along in that conversation, Cody jumped into the whole masking issue with schools. I did not anticipate that's where the conversation was going. So we didn't have anybody to talk about from the school side of it, And so people have accused me of that was my agenda. And the truth is I just did not know where the conversation was going. And it's not my job to correct guests. I don't think that my opinion is better than theirs or that I have some kind of a corner on truth. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But what we did do in response to that was a few days later, I had George Mendoza and Scott Carpenter come on last Friday, I think it was, and they talked about school opening, why it is that they're doing what they're doing, and so on and so forth. And so I realized that, if people just tune in occasionally, they might only hear one conversation. And so then what has happened is people have, leveled accusations at us. Well, you only cover one side. Then, and I had that accusation. Literally, I sent them a playlist that had 30 episodes of us talking to CHD directly about the scientific side of COVID and so on and so forth. So it was a little bit of an outrageous claim that we didn't cover the scientific side of CHD because we've spent so much of our time this last year doing that. Point being, I love to have the opportunity to correct some of those perceptions, because if you just happen to click in on one episode, then you might not get the other one that is on the other side. So bring it on. Let's have a conversation. And again, you'll find that sometimes I most always go back through the comments. I can't see the comments a lot of the times if I'm doing a live program like last night with the hospital. We were on multiple platforms and there was just no way of keeping up with them. But I will go back through the comments and will ask people to give me a call if I don't feel like what they're saying is fair, because I want to have their information. I want to be able to correct their perceptions if possible. Now, there might be things that we disagree on, and in that particular case, I can't help that. So thanks, John Tolan, for tuning in. And yeah, it was I'm really blessed to be able to know personally most of those physicians. And so it was just nice. In fact, I had troubles not calling them by their first name, simply because I know most of them by their first name. So, and I did not want to, I wanted to give them the proper respect that they deserve in that kind of a setting. But yeah, it was a good informational thing. And if you have not had if you're, if you did not watch last night's episode, in a synopsis, I mean, this was I did not put that together. Grand Ronde Hospital put that together. We were the hosting platform for that. But the meat of it is that Jeremy just wants people to understand that Jeremy is the president and CEO of Grand Ronde Hospital, that for the most part, Grand Ronde Hospital is doing okay. They're not totally full. They're not at capacity, but there are times that they're challenged, and they are concerned that if COVID cases continue to rise, that they may not have the capacity to handle some of the things like heart attacks or babies being born or some of that, all during COVID. All of those things have continued on. People's routine health issues have continued on. And that clearly is the primary purpose of the hospital, is to take care of the routine health issues of the local population. And so just because of that, because of the influx of recent COVID cases, that has put kind of a bind on the hospital. And Jeremy's point, Jeremy Davis, CEO, his whole point was to gather those folks together to say, hey, Eastern Oregon, do what you can to help reduce the spread of COVID, particularly this Delta variants. And, I shared at the end of the broadcast that I chose recently to get vaccinated. I've struggled with that. I have family members that are way pro-vaccination, and then I have other members that are, they're a little nervous about it. I'm not an anti-vax person, but frankly, there are times that I've been more afraid. I haven't been afraid of the virus. That's the bottom line. Part of it is I hate living in fear. I hate being motivated and driven by fear. And so I haven't been afraid of the virus. And so I've been probably more afraid of the vaccination than I have the virus. And so, but with this new Delta variants, that has changed. And as I said last night, the Delta variants is hard on fat people. And so that has kind of led me to make that decision. So anyhow, I'm kind of with everybody else. I've got mixed views on all of these issues. There's nothing that's for sure. The virus isn't for sure. Masking isn't for sure, but part of this is what it is that we can do to reduce our own risk and reduce the risks that are going on, and reduce the risk of us passing it on to someone who is more vulnerable than us. So anyhow, so that's what the conversation was last night. And I think there were 4 or 5 physicians that were on the program. They all talked about their area that they're responsible for. There was a pediatrician and a gynecologist and a family doctor, a hospitalist, and I think that was it. And all of them spoke, from their particular area, and it was just a great conversation. So check it out. And again, I always love your input, love your comments, love to kind of hear what it is that you're thinking. Let me share with you, I call these guiding principles. Let me get a drink here. And again, you're kind of quiet this morning. I'm not getting many comments. Would kind of love to hear your reflections as I'm talking. Just keep in mind, I see your comments. You actually hear me about 40 seconds after I say something. And so then there's a delay. And so then if you comment on something, I might go back. I'm not going to share all these things because some of them are internal, but I think you can kind of get a flavor of what EOAlive TV is about by listening to this. Number one, we represent the population we serve proportionally as much as possible. So, and that goes along the lines of politically also. So, in La Grande, we're about 50-50 split. Part of that is because Eastern Oregon University is a part of La Grande. But I mean, it's pretty close to being 50% Republican, 50% Democrat in La Grande itself. Out in Union County, it's more like about 60-40, 60% Republican, 40% Democrat. So we seek to represent our population proportionally. Our audience is Eastern Oregon. That's why when we start a show, I say, "Good morning, Eastern Oregon," because we're trying to reach a broader audience. Well, roughly 60% of that population is conservative. And so that does it. We still try and cover both sides of the story. And we want to continue to do that, and will do that. But if there are times that our coverage is a little bit more heavily conservative than it is liberal, that is proportionate to the population that is in our area. So just kind of keep that in mind. We do not believe that our view is superior to the view of others. The world has lots of opinions, so we will limit ourselves to injecting our opinion into the conversation. When we do, it will be framed clearly. Now, I mean, all of these are things that we hope that we get right. That's not the case. But generally, Dodsey and I really work we really work to keep our perspective out of it. So, all right. Number 3, we will not be shamed or bullied into not following our principles. Number 4, we will not give into pressure by outside forces to use our voice in a way that serves a particular agenda. When as the mouthpiece of EOAlive grows, we get quite a bit of pressure from time to time. People saying, "Oh, you need to speak out about this. You have a responsibility to that." And it's like, well, if it's contrary to our principles, then we're not going to be put in that position. We have an obligation to not embarrass our sponsors with our content. If you watch our stuff, you understand who our primary sponsors are. In fact, somebody recently was unhappy with us and started calling our sponsors and telling them that they should consider not spending money with us, which is crazy. What does the world come to? Anyhow. But, you know, at the end of the day, the thing that pays the bills is the advertising, and we have an obligation to not embarrass our sponsors. As anybody who understands business, that's just the reality of it. We will always make an effort to discover both sides of a story. All right, not seeing any comments. Please weigh in on some of these if you have any. We are not into drama, and we will make every effort to not emphasize stories that simply bring us attention or drive up our viewership. And all I can say is that's not how all of the media agencies feel in the area. You can tell that by looking at their feeds. We will cover visual events because our medium is visual. So we really seek to have video involved. Again, we don't write long blogs. We don't work a lot in the print media side of things because that's not our thing. Intent matters. We will make an effort to discover intent and communicate that to our viewers when we learn of a misunderstanding is in the wind. I can't tell you how critical that is. As we watch media these days, you see it all the time, particularly with political parties on both sides. They will understand the intent of the person who said something, and they will purposefully skew it to their own agenda purposes. And what I'm saying is that intent does matter. We will do what we can to communicate that intent. For some reason, if we think that someone's intent has been skewed, especially if we've been a part of that, we'll do what we can to try and correct that. We will seek to give a voice to the voiceless. That's kind of at the core, one of the core things of who I am. And all you have to understand is the social ramifications of that. Some of the things that we do are across political lines. So we will celebrate local news and information. I don't really care much about what's going on outside of Eastern Oregon, because at the end of the day, we can't really do anything about it. It doesn't really matter to us. It's not relevant. We will try and not embarrass or humiliate people. There are times that I will get a lead on a story. It's like, hey, you should go talk to this person there. They did something stupid and they need to be exposed for what it is that they've done. Well, we're not those people. There are other media agencies that will go cover that. That's not us. We will let people speak for themselves. We won't manipulate their words to create drama. That's kind of a little bit about what I said earlier. And that happened a couple of weeks ago when I interviewed Cody Bowen, Sheriff Cody, and Matt Scarfo. In the middle of that conversation, they injected their own personal views, and that's natural. That happens. That particular situation, the conversation went a little askew just because they were passionate about that, particularly Cody. And part of that passion led to a letter that he wrote and everybody is now aware of, and so on and so forth. But the point is that it's my job to let them speak for themselves. I'm not there to edit them. I'm not there to correct them. I'm not there to inject my opinion. I do want to give them an opportunity to speak their mind, because I think that as you as a public deserve to hear from them directly. So we will let people speak from themselves. We won't manipulate their words. We will project hope, not fear and panic. Again, that kind of goes with the drama. We will emphasize issues that can make a difference in our community over issues that we have no control over to reduce the feeling of hopelessness. I can't tell you how tired I get of the hopelessness that is. I mean, it's just projected. We see that all the time. We're seeing that with COVID. We're seeing that with, I mean, it's just you get to the end of the day, and and you're just down in the dumps because there doesn't seem to be a way out. And I don't want to be a part of that. I don't believe it. Now, let me just say, there are times that I feel hopeless. There are times that I am as discouraged as anyone else is. But when it comes to EOAlive TV, I'm not going to project that to you, because you don't need someone else telling you how hopeless things are. And I mean, I've been a big news fan. I've watched the evening news for years and years. Part of that is because my father did that, and so then I'll come home and I still am, I watch some of it online because it doesn't always hit the schedule. But if I can, I want to be in front of a TV somewhere watching over-the-air news at 5:30 or 6:30, depending on my schedule. But man, I just get it's like at the beginning of the day when they sat down and they figured out what news stories they were going to cover, it was like, didn't anyone around that table say, let's talk about something hopeful? Or, so I get really frustrated with that too. And I don't want to be a part of that. It's not our job to teach. It's our job to inform. I can't tell you if you're commenting on a Facebook comment, people, I don't know if they just get something out of the confrontation and the conflict, and I suppose when I was younger, there was a time when I would move towards conflict rather than away from it. But there's so much of the Facebook comments that is based on, I want to teach you the correct perspective. And we do that, we'll find some post, the New York Times or the New York Post, which are kind of on both sides of it. And it's like, look at this headline, and we share that on our Facebook page, on our own personal page. And that motivation is that I want to convince someone else, hey, I think this way. This is my opinion. And look, the New York Times thinks that's too. And so you should think this way too. And I am wearisome of people trying to teach each other or convince them. And at the end of the day, it's not our job to teach. It's not our job to convince you one way or the other. It's our job to inform. So, and then we seek to be profitable and make efforts to sell advertising that cover the cost of producing our programming. My overhead costs this morning are not very high. It's just me sitting in front of a computer that's paid for, on a service that's paid for, but still there are expenses. I was the other day, I was adding up whether we do one day of business or not, the amount of money that we pay every month just to exist. And I don't know, I'll bet it's $3,000 or $4,000 by the time you add up rent, insurance, utilities, subscriptions. In a business like this, you'd be amazed at the number of monthly subscriptions that we're involved in. But those expenses continue on. And then you add on top of that 4 or 5 employees, their computers, their expenses, their wages. It's all got to be paid for with something. And we hope that we create advertising that is create an opportunity for businesses to advertise so that it will pay for that. At the end of the day, we can go home feeling like we did something that mattered to Eastern Oregon, got some information out, and helped inform you. And I think at the end of the day is that to create something that connects us. This conversation this morning is pretty quiet, but we want to involve you in the conversation. We want to hear from you. And that's what makes Eastern Oregon who we are. That's what makes us unique. In a bigger city, we don't have the opportunity to hear all of the different voices. In Eastern Oregon, we do. So I hope that some of that helps you. At some point, we might turn that into some kind of a video. Thank you, Julie. So that you can we can kind of summarize these guiding principles in a way that you can kind of help understand who it is that we are. I would, we've worked really hard at creating some substantial programming in the last 6 months. But at this point, we've been busy creating and we haven't been out doing sales. And I just want to, we're going to start converting that. We've got to start converting some of that stuff to actual revenue. And like one of that is we need some major sponsors for this AM show. And so if you have a business, you like what it is that we're doing, and you like us to hear us mention you every other show or every show, there's an opportunity for you for us to play your commercial, to talk about your messaging and so on and so forth. So, well, anyhow, let's go back one more time, take a look at the weather, and let me show you kind of what's going on out there. It's a pretty day. And again, here's the weather for today, high of 81. And then the weather for tomorrow, again, high of 70. I don't know what the weekend is like. Gabe has a weekend forecast for us that drops tomorrow evening, and it extends for the entire week. So thank you, Patrick, for jumping in, and thanks for your affirmation this morning. So I think that's it. I spoke for 30 minutes. I had no idea I was going to go that long, but thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk this morning, to kind of share a little bit what it is that we're about. Again, please always jump in, always give us your comments. If you think I'm skewed on something, give me a call. If you don't think I'm consistent, then I want to hear from you, because at the end of the day, I heard this term the other day. It was actually at a funeral service, and they said, this person, it was a man actually who had died. He was over 100 years old, and they said, yeah, Dad was a lifelong learner. And I decided, it's like, yeah, that's me. I want to be a lifelong learner. I'm not convinced that I have all of the information that I need. I want to listen. I'm not bothered by listening to opinions outside of my and thoughts outside of my own worldview. For me, it's confirmation of me personally that, yeah, okay, I've explored that. I understand that. Some of that I can adopt, but I'm okay with where I'm at. So, point being is that we want to hear from you. If you think that we've kind of missed the mark, then then I really would love to hear from you and love to have you to. I like the conversation, and I don't want the social media conversation. Call my phone, call the office. My phone number is in a number of places. Call the office or send us a message and seek after my number, and I'll send it to you and we can have a conversation. Or hopefully after this COVID mess reduces, whenever that is, we can have a cup of coffee. Because I think the most significant thing that problem we're having right now is people forget that on the other end of that comment is a human being. They've got a mind, they've got a process, they've got a family. And if you are really angry with someone or you disagree with someone, I would encourage you to get to know them personally. Go find them, so much of our media right now is we've removed the human element. And I mean, you can look at the issues. There's a whole group of parents that are really unhappy about masking in schools. And I at the core of what they're talking about, I totally understand what it is they're talking about. But we forget that our policemen and our teachers and our city council folks, all of those people that have to make decisions, our board, the LeGrand school board members, they're people. They are us that have come out of the public and they're serving us. They're people. Many of them are people that if we sat down with, we would agree on 99% of things. It's just that they're in a position where they have to make decisions. And so then all of this ugliness that we're portraying towards people is based on the fact that we've forgotten that they're human. We've forgotten that they're us. They are us. They could be our brother, our sister, our uncle, and they just happen to be in a position where they're making a decision that we don't agree with. And it's unfortunate. I understand that bring conflict, but the horrible side is that we're insulting people. We're calling them names. We're literally acting like 8-year-olds on a playground. And that is so disturbing. That is so below what it is that we are. So get to know them, figure out where they are, give them a call, give them an opportunity to be human to you. So, all right. Hey, thanks a bunch. We'll see you next Tuesday right here on AM on EOAlive.